for one more, a short one, yes? Now, perhaps you know this one. Do you know the story of the Frog Prince? Have you ever heard the story of the Frog Prince? Well, then, have you ever heard the real story of the Frog Prince? No? Ah, then my kinder, I will tell you. Many, many, many years ago, there was a king, and the king had 3 beautiful daughters, each one more beautiful than the last. But the youngest one was the most beautiful of all the daughters. She had long golden hair, bright blue eyes, and her father doted on her very much. He loved her very much. And on her birthday, he gave her a beautiful gold ball, which she loved more than anything else. And her and her sisters would go out to the garden, in the far part of the castle gardens, and they would play. And they would throw the ball to each other. One day, as they were throwing the ball to each other, "Oh, Kinder, come, we coming. Sit, please. You, yes. The children, the Kinder. Yes, come. Come here, sit. Please, sit. These are stories for the Kinder, so you should come and sit here. Now, as I was saying, her sister threw the ball, but she did not catch it. And it flew over her head and down into a deep, dark well. And the princess was so sad, for this was her favorite toy. And she looked down and she could not even see the bottom of the well, it was so dark and deep. But as she sat there with the tears rolling down her cheeks, she heard, "Princess, princess." She looked around. And what do you think she saw? Anybody? Do you have an idea? A frog, yes! A green frog. The frog looked at her. "Princess, I can get your ball for you." And she said, "Will you, frog?" He says, "Yes, but if I get your ball for you, you must let me come and live with you in the castle." And she said, "Yes, frog, you can come and live with me." He said, "All right, princess. If I get your ball for you, will you let me eat at your table beside you from your plate?" And she said, "Yes, frog, yes, just get my ball for me, please, frog." "Princess, not frog. If I get your ball for you, will you let me sleep beside you on a cushion by your big soft bed?" "Yes, frog, yes, anything, but please get my ball for me." "Very well," said the frog. The frog jumped down into the well. Splash! The frog swam to the bottom of the well, found the golden ball, and put his big mouth around it, swam back to the top, hopped out of the well, and poof, dropped the ball in front of the princess. The princess was so happy to see her precious golden ball that she grabbed the ball and ran back to the castle, but the frog was hopping after her. "Princess, princess, you've forgotten me, said the frog. And the princess went and her sisters went inside and closed the door. The next morning, the princesses and the king, their father, came down to breakfast. And they hear at the door, "Princess, princess, let me in. I was the one your ball did swim." The father said, "What is that?" The princess became very nervous. She said, "It is nothing, father, it is nothing." And again they heard the voice, "Princess, princess, please let me in. I am the one who your ball did swim." And her father said, "What is that noise out there?" And the princess, very red in the face, she put her head down and she said, "Father, yesterday when we were playing, I lost my ball. And a frog said that he would retrieve it for me." And what happened? Asked her father, the king. She said, "The frog asked me if he got the ball, would I let him live in the castle?" "And what did you say?" said the father. And she said, "I said, yes, father." "What else?" And she said, the frog said, if he got the ball for me, would I let him eat from my golden plate?" Said her father. "What else?" And she said, would I let him sleep on a cushion by my bed?" So you promised this frog these things if he would get the bowl for you. And the princess nodded. He said, well, you must honor your promise. You make a promise, you must keep your promise. That is what you must always remember, no matter to who or to what. If you make a promise, you keep that promise. So do not make promises lightly. And she sighed and went to the door. The guards opened the door, and in hops a little frog. The frog looked at everyone. And the king bowed to the frog. He said, welcome here, frog. Would you like to join us for breakfast? And the frog jumped up on the table, right by where the princess was sitting. And as she went to eat, the frog's long tongue went out. And he began to eat. The princess sat there looking so disturbed at this sight. And the frog said, now, princess, will you show me your house? Will you show me your castle? And she looked at her father, and the king just nodded and gave her a look that she did not argue with her father. She picks up the frog, and she walked around and showed him the whole castle. He says, now, princess, I am very tired. I wish to sleep. And the princess closed her eyes with the thought of the frog by her bed. I want one of those cushions. So she took her cushion, put it by the bed. The frog hopped up on it. And the princess said her prayers. She was going to go to bed, for she was not feeling well at this point. And the frog looked at her and said, princess? What, frog? Will you give me a kiss? The princess looked at the frog. You want me to give you a kiss? Yes, said the frog. So the princess took a deep breath, closed her eyes, leaned down, very slowly, kissed the frog on the nose. Just a little kiss on the nose. She sat back and opened her eyes and looked at her. She saw a young man standing there. She could not believe her eyes. What had happened? The young man told her. Many, many years ago, he was a prince. When he was very cruel to an old woman, asked him for help, and he ignored her. And guess what the old woman was? Yes. Very good. And what did the witch do? She turned very good. And she said to the frog, when you learn what it is like to feel pain, to feel hurt, to understand what broken promises are, as you have done this not only to me but to others, you will remain a frog. The frog lived many, many years like that. The prince lived many, many years like that. Well, the young princess brought the young man down to her father, the king, and the king said, when she is old enough, if you wish, you may marry her. And the prince said, Your Majesty, I have but one small favor. He says, what? There is a huge stone not far from this castle. I ask that it be brought in. The king said, there are many large stones. He says, not like this one, I will show you. They went out. When they found a huge stone that looked almost like a man. And they brought this in. And the prince put his hand on the stone's shoulder. And the stone became a man. And they were stunned. And the man was dressed all in armor. And they said, who is this? This man, said the prince, who had been the frog, was my servant and knight, the faithful Henry. When Henry stood watch over me when I was a frog till he became a stone. But I promised him I became a man again. I would release him from his service. And Henry said, no, Your Majesty. I guarded you as a man. I guarded you as a frog, and I will guard you again as a man. And the prince, and when the prince became older, were married. and they had many children. And some of those children had great adventures, which perhaps someday I will tell you about. Thank you so very much, my kin. And thank you, dear people, for listening.